What if I told you that the thing wrecking your metabolism, tanking your energy, and keeping you stuck in fat storage mode isn't what you're eating? It's how often you're eating it? Today we're going deep on OMAD, one meal a day. And before you click away thinking this is some extreme diet bro thing, hear me out. Because what your body does during 23 hours of fasting is nothing short of remarkable. We're talking about hormonal shifts that flip your body from a fat-storing machine into a fat-burning engine, cellular repair processes so powerful that a scientist won the Nobel Prize for discovering them, and mental clarity so sharp that people describe it like someone finally took the static off their brain. So, stick with me. By the end of this video, you won't just understand OMAD, you'll understand your own biology in a way that changes how you think about food forever. And drop a comment below. Would you try OMAD for 7 days? Let me know. Section 1. The evolutionary argument. Let's start with a question nobody seems to ask. Where did the idea of 3 meals a day even come from? Because it certainly didn't come from biology. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't wake up to breakfast, pack a lunch, and sit down for a family dinner. They ate when they caught something, and they went without when they didn't. One day might be a successful hunt, a full belly, a feast around the fire. The next 3 days, bitter roots and whatever scraps were left. Fasting wasn't a lifestyle choice back then. It was just life. And here's the thing. Our bodies didn't just survive that pattern. They were built for it. Every hormonal system, every metabolic process, every cellular repair mechanism in your body is calibrated around the assumption that food will not always be available. So, when nutrition books tell you to eat 5 or 6 small meals a day to keep your metabolism fired up, they're not working with your biology, they're working against thousands of years of evolutionary design. OMAD isn't a new trend, it's a return to your biological baseline. And once you understand the mechanics of what happens inside your body when you stop eating around the clock, the science becomes impossible to ignore. Section 2. The insulin problem. Let's talk about the hormone at the center of all of this, insulin. Every single time you eat anything, your body releases insulin. That's its job. Insulin is the traffic cop of energy management. It takes the glucose from your food and either uses it for immediate fuel or, if there's excess, directs it into fat storage. Now think about what happens when you eat 6 times a day. Breakfast at 7, snack at 10, lunch at noon, afternoon coffee and something sweet at 3, dinner at 7, dessert at 9. That's 6, maybe 7 insulin spikes per day. Your body never gets a chance to drop out of storage mode. Insulin stays elevated, and elevated insulin essentially locks your fat cells. The hormone responsible for releasing fat, called hormone-sensitive lipase, can't do its job when insulin is high. Your fat is just sitting there, inaccessible, while you keep adding more. OMAD changes this completely. You eat once, insulin spikes once, then drops and stays low for the remaining 23 hours, and in that long, sustained low insulin window, your body finally gets permission to access its fat stores and burn them for fuel. It's not complicated, it's not a hack. It's basic biology that most of us were never taught. Section 3. Ketosis, fat fuel, and your brain. Here's where things get really interesting. Around 12 to 16 hours after your last meal, something significant happens. Your body has burned through its glycogen, the sugar stored in your muscles and liver, and now it has a decision to make. With no incoming food and no stored sugar left, it turns to the one fuel source that's been sitting there all along, body fat. Your liver begins converting fat into molecules called ketones. And your brain, it turns out, absolutely loves ketones. People who've experienced ketosis often describe a kind of mental clarity they weren't expecting. The brain fog lifts, focus sharpens, thoughts feel cleaner, faster, less scattered. That's because ketones burn smoothly and efficiently, producing less inflammatory byproduct than glucose does. They're calmer fuel, and there's a deeper reason for this mental upgrade. From an evolutionary standpoint, hunger was supposed to make you sharper, not weaker. If you haven't eaten, you need to go find food. That requires focus, problem-solving, alertness. Your brain responds to fasting by releasing norepinephrine and dopamine, neurotransmitters associated with drive and sharp thinking. Hunger, in other words, was designed to make you dangerous, strategic, switched on. Ketones also trigger the release of something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that supports the growth and repair of neurons. So your brain during extended fasting isn't just running on backup fuel, it's actively being repaired and strengthened. Fat stores, by the way, are a vastly underestimated energy resource. Your glycogen holds maybe 2,000 calories. Your fat stores, even in a relatively lean person, can hold over 100,000 calories. OMAD trains your body to tap that enormous reserve instead of demanding a snack every 2 hours. Section 4. Autophagy. The cellular cleanup crew. Now let's talk about the process that earned a Nobel Prize. When you fast for more than 16 hours, your body enters a state called autophagy. The word comes from Greek, meaning self-eating. But don't be alarmed. It's not self-destruction. It's self-optimization. Here's what's happening. Every cell in your body accumulates damaged proteins, worn-out components, and dysfunctional debris over time. Under normal eating conditions, when insulin is always elevated and energy is always available, there's no reason for your cells to clean house. They just keep building on top of the mess. But fasting changes the signal. When nutrients are scarce, your cells switch into conservation mode. And part of that is autophagy, a sophisticated recycling process where your cells break down and reuse their own damaged components. Old, dysfunctional cellular material gets stripped out, the good parts get repurposed, the junk gets cleared. The result? Reduced cellular inflammation, tissue regeneration, and emerging evidence of slower biological aging. In 2016, Japanese cell biologist Yoshinori Ohsumi won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine specifically for his work on autophagy, confirming that it's not fringe science or wellness speculation. It's a fundamental biological mechanism, and you don't need a pill or a procedure to activate it, you just need to stop eating for long enough. Section 5. Your hormones, hunger, and what actually happens after week 1. One of the most common fears about OMAD is this: won't I be absolutely starving all day? It's a fair question, and the short answer is not in the way you're imagining. There are 2 hormones worth understanding here. The first is ghrelin, the so-called hunger hormone. The second is actually a pair, GLP-1 and CCK, the satiety hormones your body releases in response to a large, satisfying meal. Here's the thing about ghrelin. It's largely habit-driven. If you've eaten breakfast at 7 a.m. every day for the past 20 years, your body will release ghrelin at 7 a.m., not because you're genuinely calorically deficient, but because that's the pattern it learned. It's a conditioned response, not a biological emergency. The good news is that ghrelin can be retrained. Within roughly 10 to 14 days of consistent OMAD, the hormonal schedule starts to shift. Morning ghrelin signals become quieter. The craving you expected to feel doesn't quite arrive. Many people report that after the adaptation period, they don't just tolerate the fasting window, they forget it's there. Meanwhile, that one large meal triggers a strong, sustained satiety response. GLP-1 and CCK signal your brain that you're genuinely full. The stomach stretch from a substantial meal suppresses hunger hormones for hours afterward. Far from being a day of deprivation, OMAD often becomes a day of calm, followed by one deeply satisfying meal. The first week is still the hardest. Expect some discomfort. Expect your brain to loudly protest the schedule change. That's normal. It's adaptation, not failure. Section 6. Real results and metabolic flexibility. Let me tell you about someone who represents what's possible with OMAD done right. A 35-year-old teacher, let's call him David, wasn't interested in clean eating or gym culture. No meal prepping on Sundays, no grilled chicken and sad salads. He still ate pizza, burgers, pasta, all of it. The one thing he changed was the window in which he ate. 1 meal, 1 hour, every day. The rest, fasting. 6 months later, he was down 45 pounds. His cholesterol improved, his sleep deepened, his skin cleared, his energy stopped crashing at 3 in the afternoon. What David discovered, and what the science supports, is the concept of metabolic flexibility. A metabolically flexible body can shift smoothly between burning glucose and burning fat, depending on what's available. Most people eating constantly have lost this ability entirely. Their bodies run on sugar, cut the sugar supply, and they panic, crash, and reach for a snack. OMAD is essentially metabolic training. It forces your system to practice switching fuels. Over time, the switch becomes seamless. You stop being a hostage to your next meal. Section 7, the practical upside. Here's a benefit that doesn't get nearly enough attention: time. 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, is 21 separate food events. The planning, the shopping, the cooking, the eating, the cleaning up. Researchers estimate this costs the average person 10 to 15 hours per week. That's 50 to 60 hours a month. OMAD collapses that to 1 meal a day, 7 food events per week instead of 21. The cognitive overhead of constantly thinking about what to eat, when to eat, and what to prep disappears almost entirely. For a lot of people, that reclaimed mental bandwidth is just as valuable as the metabolic benefits. Section 8. The real risks. Here's the honest part. OMAD isn't for everyone, and it's important to say that clearly. Compressing all your daily nutrition into a single meal is a challenge. Your digestive system has physical limits. Eat too much too fast, and you'll feel bloated, nauseous, and uncomfortable in ways that have nothing to do with fat burning. More critically, one meal has to carry everything. sufficient protein for muscle maintenance, adequate fiber, essential vitamins and minerals, and enough total calories to fuel the following 23 hours. If that meal is nutritionally hollow, you will develop deficiencies. A burger and fries eaten once a day is not a health strategy. For people with a history of disordered eating, the rigid structure of OMAD can be genuinely harmful, potentially triggering binge-restrict cycles or amplifying anxiety around food. Anyone in this situation should approach it only with professional guidance, or not at all. Pregnant women, children, elderly individuals, and anyone managing a serious medical condition should avoid OMAD entirely. The approach requires a healthy metabolic foundation, and the social dimension is real. Food is how humans connect. Family dinners, birthday cakes, team lunches, these aren't obstacles, they're part of life. OMAD doesn't have to be rigid. Eating at a social event one afternoon, then returning to your usual rhythm the next day, doesn't erase your progress. Flexibility is not failure. So what's the takeaway? OMAD works metabolically, hormonally, neurologically, because it's aligned with how your body was actually designed to function. One insulin spike, a long fat-burning window, cellular repair through autophagy, mental clarity fueled by ketones, hormonal adaptation that makes the hunger manageable, then mostly gone. But it's a tool, a powerful one. And like any powerful tool, the results depend entirely on how intelligently it's used. Don't start OMAD by skipping breakfast tomorrow and calling it done. Start by understanding why the fasting window works, what your insulin is doing, why your cells repair themselves in the absence of food. Because when you understand the mechanism, you stop fighting your hunger and start working with your biology. If OMAD isn't the right fit for you right now, that's fine. A 16 to 8 intermittent fasting window gives you many of the same benefits with less intensity. The principle is the same. Give your insulin time to drop, give your body a reason to burn fat, give your cells the silence they need to clean house. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be strategic. If this video helped you see food and fasting differently, share it with someone who's been trapped in the 5 meals a day cycle. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and drop a comment. Would you actually try OMAD for a week? Because sometimes what your body needs isn't more food, it's more time.